Hi, welcome to History 542, Introduction to Public History. My name's Larry Sabila, and I thought I'd film a little introductory video for this class. Not something I'll do every week, but I attended some online training over the summer. They said always record an introductory video, and what should I argue with people who get paid more than I do? Anyway, there's 4 things I want to cover in this introductory video. I didn't want to lose track, so I made some notes here. I'm gonna introduce myself, and you will introduce yourselves at the class website. I'll walk us through the syllabus, and that'll be most of the video right there. We'll go to I'll talk a little bit about a special feature of this class, our trip to the San Juan Islands and our partnership with the National Park Service. And I'll introduce the topic of meeting in person, if people would like to do that. And I definitely want to meet with each of you who's resident in Cheney or Spokane, probably next week. I'll put up a sign-up sheet at the course website for that. Well, first of all, let me introduce myself. I came into public history through the side door, or the back door even, as I think most people do. I was trained as a traditional historian. I went to the College of William and Mary. I got a PhD in ethnohistory. That's the kind of history where you steal a lot from the anthropologists and try to write a little better than they do. Anyway, so I got a PhD in ethnohistory. I wrote a book about how the Indians in this area, what we call the Columbia Plateau, used their religion to understand white contact and how that religion changed as a result. And it received, 20 people liked it a lot. That's about par for an academic book. And then I got a job in Missouri, and slowly I moved into public history. I was appointed to a museum board, and I really enjoyed that. I started getting students internships and then jobs in local museums and archives, and that was fun to see. I started playing around with some of the digital resources that were coming out in the 1990s and looking at ways my students could present history online. In 2008, I got the opportunity to come back to Eastern. I actually got my master's degree here back in the day. Professor Youngs was my advisor back then. And in 2008, I came back to Eastern to direct the public history program here. Let's talk a little bit about the syllabus. Here we go, your handy-dandy syllabus. This is also online at the course website. It's linked at the course website. It lives as a Google Doc. I like using Google Docs for collaborative work a great deal. Well, the syllabus, right up front, it's got my contact information. Let me just emphasize that I've got a Gmail address that I very much prefer if you use that instead of my campus address. I've got one thing I missed in the introduction. I'm here at Eastern, but I'm also at the State Archives. The way I usually describe my joint appointment is that I'm 80% in the history department, I'm 80% at the State Archives. So I'm kind of a hard guy to catch sometimes, and we'll do the best we can. If you email me, we set up an appointment, I'll be there. We can also do an appointment on Skype or whatever. But it's really easiest for me if all the email goes through that one account, the Gmail account. Anyway, there's an introduction. What is public history? You're going to read a lot about that this first week. Public historians like to argue about it, and I'm not sure why. It's not a very interesting argument, to me anyway. My favorite definition of public history is defined by the work that public historians do. Public history is anything historians do with historical training that is outside the classroom. So museum work is public history, archive work is public history, working for the Park Service in certain capacities is public history, historic preservation is public history. It's a whole bunch of stuff, really. So with that, and the course objective is to give you a nice broad introduction to public history and also a hand at doing some actual public history work. And we'll do that with the Park Service this quarter. The required readings, really quickly, there's a textbook on public history by Thomas Coven. It's pretty new. I'll be very interested to hear what you think of it. This is, I believe, the first time I've used it in a class. There's a book by Mike Wallace called Mickey Mouse History. It's a lot of fun. It came out in the 1980s. It's kind of dated, but students love it, and it does some important work, and I keep coming back to it and assigning it again and again. I think you'll like that one. What else am I having you read? Richard White's book about land use, environment, and social change in Island County, Washington. This is about, it's an environmental history of some islands that are very nearby the San Juans, and I think we can get a lot of tips from that book and a lot of ideas about how to explore the San Juans historically speaking. There's a book by Stein called Exploring Coast Salish Prehistory. That's not a very long book. There's new discoveries coming all the time about this. That'll also help set us up for our partnership with the San Juans to understand the native presence there, and I'm excited about reading that book along with you. There's a book by my friend Denise Marengolo, Museums, Monuments, and National Parks. It won an award as the best public history book of the year a couple of years ago. Also relevant to this class, as I think you can see. Rosenzweig and Thalen, a really interesting book. It came out of, as you'll see, a massive survey of the public to see how the public at large understands history, what they like about history, what they don't. It's super important for the public historian to have read. And I say abundant additional readings is assigned. There's tremendous work being done in public history on the web nowadays. I'm going to assign a bunch of that. Every week there'll be a couple videos to watch, sometimes as long. Look at it this way: if this were a classroom 5-hour class, I could, theoretically, lecture at you for 5 hours. Now, some of you know I don't teach a class like that, but it's a 5-hour class, so I have no hesitation to assign some fairly long videos some weeks, and you'll find that this week. There's a panel discussion the first week on C-SPAN that I think is very good and relevant. Most weeks I'll have some podcasts, most weeks I'll have some websites. Sometimes websites that I assign, instead of read, it'll say explore. If I assign a website, I don't expect you to go down every branching tree and read every page. But think of the 5 W's: who, what, when, where, why. Can you answer that about the website? Is there one neat thing you can point to about the website in discussion? You're done. Go ahead and move on. The metaphor I often use for students here is Lewis and Clark. Lewis and Clark's job is not to describe every tree to President Jefferson. It's to go out west, get the lay of the land, give him some idea. When I say explore, think Lewis and Clark. Grading. There's kind of 3 main assignments here. Some of them are recurring. There's a weekly reaction paper. If you haven't written a reaction paper, I have a link in the syllabus about how to do that. It's reaction paper takes the place of weekly quizzes. It ensures me that you've done the reading. Your main goal in writing the reaction paper is to show me you've done the reading. You do that with reference to specific facts, with some quotations here and there. You'll get used to what I want, and it'll be pretty effortless after a while writing these. Then there's online discussion. I'm going first. This first week I've set up a discussion board. I have some questions to get us started. Go in, answer some of those questions. Remember, let me back up a little bit. What do I want to see in a discussion? Not just, because that's what I'm really looking for. It's not so much what you do as individuals, it's what kind of discussions develop. Just as in a good seminar classroom, I want to see a good discussion going between the students, not back and forth between the students and myself. That's what I hope to see online. So to get a good discussion going, the most important thing is don't wait till the end of the week to post. You're reading all week. Be posting all week. You don't have to have read everything to post something. So as soon as you've listened to a podcast or read a few chapters of something, go in the discussion board and make some observations, see what's going on there. So throughout the week, you'll be on the discussion board discussing with other students. Each of you will take a turn leading the discussion, probably twice, because I'll divide you into groups of 2, and I'll assign those. If you have a special request, if there's a week you won't be available, let me know as soon as possible. Otherwise, I'll just kind of divvy you up. When you're discussion leader, your job is to read maybe a little bit faster than anybody else and to post some questions. And again, you can skim a book and come up with some decent discussion questions, then go back and read it properly. I'll try and give you as much heads up as I can about when you're going to be leading discussions. So there's the discussions, there's the reaction papers every week, and then there's the final project. We'll have a better sense of what that final project will be after our visit to the San Juan Islands. I'm in discussions right now with the chief interpreter there, Brandon Cadwell, and we're getting some ideas. If you're at all familiar with my web project, Spokane Historical, that's the kind of thing we'll be looking for, some digital storytelling. I'll show you how to do it. It's not complicated, but as you go through the readings about the San Juans, what you're looking for especially are stories. Is that a good story? Oh, that would be interesting. Make careful note of those. Those are the stories we will tell for the National Park Service. So your grading will be based on those 3 things. I think I've covered pretty well most of them. Hold on here a minute. So we'll be going to the San Juans April 27th through 29th. Again, that's on the syllabus. We'll need to get a pretty early start on the 27th. We will drive out to Anacortes. We will be on an EWU bus. We'll put it on the ferry. We have our tickets all ready for that. And we'll ride across to Friday Harbor, and we'll stay with the National Park Service. The Park Service will have wall tents and cots already set up for us. You'll have to bring a sleeping bag. You can bring some food or dine in restaurants there. You should probably at least bring some snack foods. The bus is covered. The ferry ticket for the bus is covered. I am not sure if that covers the passengers or not. You may have to buy a ferry ticket, and you may have to buy some food. But other than that, this trip is covered thanks to the history department and our benevolent chair, Li Ping Zhu. Long may he live. So what else we have to talk about here in the syllabus? Plagiarism. Plagiarism is bad, really bad. Don't do it. That covers our plagiarism talk. If you have any question about what plagiarism is, come see me, and we'll talk it through, and we'll make sure that you are not doing it. Do you want to see me? My office hours are by appointment this quarter. As I said, we can set something up, we can Skype, we can do whatever you like. So that covers, let's see, I've covered the introduction, the syllabus, the San Juans. Let's talk about meeting in person in general. I offered this class online hoping we'd draw in some students from around the state, and I see from the roster that really didn't happen. It's mostly existing students in the public history program. And I love you guys, and I'm glad to see you here. Given that we're mostly on campus, do you want to meet in person every other week or something like that? Kick it around. I'll open up a discussion board about it. I'm perfectly willing to do it. I'm perfectly willing to not do it. Whatever works for you. And we don't all have to decide the same. If some of you would like to meet periodically and some wouldn't, that'll be fine too. So that's about it. Go ahead and explore this Canvas website. I've only got the first week's materials up. The rest will be coming pretty quickly. I hope by the end of week 3, everything will be posted through week 10. This week, it's Mike Wallace, History of Museums, Early Public History. Next week, we'll start exploring the history of the San Juans with that Coastal Salish prehistory book and some additional resources. So with that, I'll see you online. If you have any trouble, reach out, give me a call, drop me an email. We'll get it fixed for you. Thank you, and thank you for taking my class.